Well, my eye's still messed up, and it's very late. But, we've got an hour or so before we really need to sleep. Alrighty then. That's right, it starts with an earthquake, hurricanes, and aeroplanes. Lenny Bruce is not afraid. That one. Huh? Well, I guess I'm going to have to start the conversation prompt myself. So, in another stunning example of how climate change is making winters last longer, have worse snow, beating records every 10 years, there's another blizzard coming for the East Coast, for the Northeast. But it's not that uncommon for the Northeast to get blizzards. What is uncommon is for the rest of the East Coast that's about to get a blizzard to be getting blizzards, which is the part that really makes me think that this is just another example of how climate change makes winters worse in addition to making summers worse. It's also coming right in the wake, pretty much, of a major ice storm that swept across the southeast and kind of into the east coast and northeast. Mostly they got dry, powdery snow for the most part. The farther north you went, the drier the conditions were. So hopefully they're not still dealing with a lot of like fallout from that, but it's never good to get like concurrent snowstorms one after another, no matter what area you're talking about. I look like your science teacher. I'll take that as a compliment. That must mean I look pretty smart. What time is it? It's real late. It's like 1 in the morning for me. Remember me, BP Gaming TV? The name sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't remember specifically what we talked about. Play guitar now, please. Somebody donate $5. I'll do it. Is that herpes on your lip? No, this is not herpes. It's just a pimple. And at this point, it's healing up. I wonder if Regiment is the same person just coming in on different accounts every time I stream. Because there is somebody. I wonder. Let's see here. Let's see here. So their comment in here, the first comment in here is get a job and know what you do ain't making you no money. Alrighty. So they have been in here long enough to have 2 timeouts and 1 deleted message. I'm looking back through their chat history, and it's looking like they have been here for a long time. A long time. A long time. Also, they spelled site as in CITE as like website. So I think we can discount anything they have ever said up until now because they were wrong in their spelling one time. No, but seriously, um, why are you still watching? If you just think I'm like some pathetic layabout that does nothing of value. You just got here. Your chat history says otherwise. I don't know if you realize this, but everyone in this chat can like click on your profile and it will pull up, and one of the options that is there is channel activity, and I can read every single message you've ever sent in this chat. I can read every single comment you've ever left on my channel. I can see every mod action that's ever been taken against you. Mark, my conservative friend, one of many. One of many. Speaking of conservative friends of the channel, where the fuck is Finksy at? Finksy ain't been in here in a month. You ever smell your teeth while you sleep? As it turns out, stained teeth don't stink. I brush my teeth regularly, but a lifetime of smoking cigarettes and weed and drinking coffee and fucking iced coffee and sweet tea. I kept wanting to say coffee and iced tea, but I don't. I don't drink that unsweetened northerner shit. You prefer Pepsi or Coke? Neither. I'm not a soda person. I yellow my teeth with cigarettes and fucking, like I said, coffee and tea. You need to stop this terrible lifestyle because it's affecting you in so many ways, right? Lay out one way in which it's affecting you. And for me to even consider your argument. Damn it. I just want to get that one nice sharp hit, you know? You acknowledging them is just going to make them worse. I don't know that you understand the philosophy behind this channel and this chat in particular yet, but you'll get there. You'll figure it out. Hey, I'm a big fan. Do you think you could do a fart on the live to show support for the troops? Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I don't have one that I can just summon up real quick for you. Where'd you get that pipe, by the way? My dad. I needed I didn't have a vape for a while. Now I have a vape, but I just kind of like there is a difference, and I don't know exactly how to quantify it, but there is like a substantive difference in the effect you get smoking pipe tobacco in particular versus other types of tobacco or other types of nicotine. And there's just something nice. I've come to like doing it while I'm streaming. Do you think the US is going to bomb Iran? Well, since we've got quite a few people in here talking right now, yes, I think the US is not only going to bomb Iran, I think we're going to launch an extended regime change campaign in Iran, and this has been building for 20 years at the very least. Like honestly, we've been wanting regime change in Iran since the 1950s. That's when we did it the first time around. The 1979 revolution is the thing that really precipitated our current and modern relationship with Iran. And it has been since the Islamist revolution of 1979 in Iran that we have been trying to reinstate some kind of Western control over that country. And I have no doubt that the pieces are being put into place right now for that conquest, basically, to finally take place. Thank you for actually sharing a genuine take and opinion. Refreshing to hear someone use their fucking brain. Yeah, I mean, there's not that many of us left in America, I'll be real with you, but there are a few people remaining, at least. Honestly, you know what? America gets a bad rap, and let me explain why. It's only really a third of Americans who are really passionate about this crazy MAGA fascist shit. The rest of us, universally to a man, are okay with like progressive social issues and okay with like some socialist ideas about the economy and shit. It's just that the will of the people has not been reflective of the actions of politicians, or rather, I should say, the actions of politicians haven't been reflective of the will of the people in a long time. Mm. 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 Why has there never been a major military attack on U.S. soil? Uh, uh, um, my friend, my brother, my comrade, my Chinese Uyghur. I'm afraid to tell you that there have been. Pearl Harbor happened. I don't know if you have ever heard about it. Not only that, but I guess you can't call the 9/11 attacks a coordinated military strike, but that's part of the reason why it was so effective. Had one of the militaries of the world tried to do something like that, it obviously would have been stopped over the Atlantic Ocean. But because it was some infiltrators who did like, so it's basically like, you know, to them it was guerrilla warfare. To us, it was terrorism. Now, obviously, it was obviously terrorism in tactic and function and everything else, but like, it's the same kind of thing that the American revolutionaries used to get an advantage over British regimented troops and shit like that. It's the idea of using like non-standard methods of warfare to achieve a military outcome. So, like, one could argue that 9/11 counts. So, yeah, there have been a number of military attacks on U.S. soil. The U.S. is not impervious to attack, no matter what our politician propaganda might tell you. Are you a they, them? No, I'm a she, her. Can I read your last comment, please? Sure, Pink Fur. Let me see. I entered a Switzerland chat. Once they find out I'm from the US, they all attack me and handed my ass to me. I was not expecting that. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not gonna like try and make a whole bunch of excuses for them necessarily, but the whole world is pissed at us right now. America represents the loudest and most obvious um, canary in the coal mine for the rising fascist tide that has been influencing Europe, that has been influencing parts of Oceania, and it's been a major fucking pain in the ass for the last 50 years. And people are seeing it so obviously and clearly now. Not only are we not the shining city on the hill anymore, now we're like the despotic, dystopian hellscape that everyone's terrified of. We went from the shining city on the hill to the dystopian hellscape in the valley. Did you cut your own bangs? Yes, I cut my own hair. That coal mine keeps you on the internet. You realize we could run the entire electrical grid primarily off of solar, supplement that with hydro and nuclear, and be completely non-reliant on fossil fuels? Literally. I have been blackpilled on this recently, and I have fucking come out in stark opposition to anybody who's telling you that you need combustible fuels to be able to run the modern economy. You don't. There are already multiple large construction firms who work on big dirt moving equipment and stuff like that, coming out with all electric models that are designed to be charged on site with provided electricity through whatever fucking form the grid provides it. And the grid can provide the electricity through solar farms, which are, by the way, a much more efficient use of land than using that land for the production of corn for biofuels would be. So not only that, but unlike with biofuels, where you have to grow that shit every year, process it out, and there's a ton of energy that goes into making it, There's quite a bit of energy that goes into manufacturing the solar panel, getting all the raw materials out of the earth to make it, turning those into the base materials to assemble it, and then assembling it and shipping it, installing it. All that costs money. But once you got it there, you've got it attached to the grid, you've got 25 years of very low maintenance where you're just producing electricity for free at a much more efficient rate than you would be if you were using that same land for grain to produce biofuels or a coal plant or whatever else. And if you want to know more information about this, there's a really good video by a channel called Technology Connections. It's called, I think, You Are Being Lied to About These or something like that. And it's a really good watch. You should go check it out. Expect Iran to fight back in the event of an attack, raising the risk of U.S. casualties in a regional conflict, given the number of countries that could come under fire from Iran's missile arsenal. Yeah, I mean, that's why I say that this is going to be a protracted campaign into Iran and that there's going to be a lot of fallout from it. I mean, this could be the event that triggers a third world war. We attack Iran. Iran decides to launch retaliatory attacks. One of the things Iran said already about the attacks that may or may not happen from the U.S. against them and any retaliatory strikes that may happen is that they would consider basically any property of the U.S. or Israel within their reach to be a valid target. Any personnel, like it's pretty crazy. They have laid out their rules of engagement and they are very, very all encompassing. So Iran is not afraid to start taking some of its neighbors with it, whether that's Israel or some of its more fundamentalist neighbors. They are going to fucking take some land down with them. They have international allies too. China and Russia both back Iran. Your chat attracts so many damn trolls. I know. It's pretty crazy. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way. If you hit that like button, that increases the chances of this stream being sent out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people and therefore the number of disparate opinions and perspectives that I'm able to review in my chat. So consider doing that for me. Makes me feel really good about myself. What people need to realize is the companies need to produce to win. Jails/immigration jails in general, they are privately owned. What? Huh? What? I feel it's like sometimes I dedicate myself to reading a paragraph worth of comment, and at the end of it, I decide what I read was not actually worth my time because it did not represent a coherent idea that I can respond to in a cogent way. And I always regret reading those comments, but I never catch them beforehand. No trains or cars, horse and buggy, tried and true. No, no. No, returning to the horse and buggy is literally the worst option I'll hear people pitch. The only place it makes sense is if you're talking about rural areas and you're talking about like the perspective of building intentional communities that are meant to not have paved roads and things like that. If you're talking about like choosing to live more simply and trying to propagate that way of life, I admire that and I think that that's a noble goal. I think it is an important piece of the work that needs done. But that's pretty much the only context in which horses for transportation makes any sense. If you have an abundance of paved roads, you have an extra layer of maintenance that you have to do to keep horses healthy on that environment. Not only that, but modern paved roads are not meant for like horse feet. They're not meant for, um, you know, carriage wheels. I mean, obviously there are carriages and horseshoes that are designed to be used with modern roads, but Like there's a deficit that you're constantly working against if you wanted to implement that in the modern day. I don't think Riley does actually seriously want to implement horse and buggy transportation for everybody, but I will tell you, I've thought about it, and it just does not make sense in any modern context, unless you're talking about intentional communities where you're going to build or with an idea oriented around the idea that you don't have like paved roads and harsh concrete and heat and very little in the way of like natural disposability. Because like another big problem that comes from having horses in the cities, for example, and the reason why you don't see them that often in cities is because if you have horses in your cities, you have to have like an entire section of your sanitation department dedicated to cleaning up horse shit. Whereas if you've got a small village that's kind of spread out over some land and there's plenty of grass that's allowed to grow and weeds and stuff like that, like if you encourage the development and like the ecological development of natural areas interspersed throughout your community and you don't have paved roads and stuff like that, then the issue of horse shit becomes like honestly way less of a big deal. You can just kind of like sweep it off to the side as you come across it. You can just kind of like kick it over to the side and it'll rot down in the bushes and just add to the fertilizer quotient of the soil or whatever. It'll add to the nutrients. But if you've got like paved roads, that shit stinks and causes a road hazard, and you can't just pitch it off to the side because you'd just be pitching it onto the sidewalk or something like that. So there's very limited context in which it makes sense. Open your eyes, you're a liar, huh? Dude, I don't know what kind of fucking ewu shit you've been on, but there is no truth to this fucking like myth that like the various myths people tell about body language are all honestly predicated on some misapprehensions about the importance of body language in human development interaction. Like for example, the main reason I'm closing my eyes so much today on this stream is because one of my eyes is like fucking infected or something. I don't know. It's very irritated. I got a piece of dust in it or a piece of dirt or something in it the other day. I could probably scratched my cornea and it's just been irritated ever since. So I've been closing my eyes a lot to facilitate closing that left eye. I was making fun of pro coal anti-renewables. Oh, right on, right on, right on. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm surprised I didn't catch up on that. Yeah. Yeah, the people who are like pro coal in the face of an abundance of renewables really are like people who want to preserve the horse and buggy despite all the modern disadvantages of having that, right? And just like with the horse and buggy, sure, if you want to say that it's like, yeah, we can maintain very small scale, individual, by hand coal production for a very small cottage industry of specific things that we need it for. Or if you want to make specific use-based like use cases for coal, that's one thing. But people just seem to want to preserve the very idea of it, mostly because I think people have a strong financial incentive for it. There are people in this country who legitimately believe the only thing that they're worth and the only thing that they're good at is digging up coal. And if that job goes away, there's never going to be another job in their town, and there's no possibility for any jobs to come to their town. There are tons of people who've just given up on the idea of any kind of improvement being possible, not just in their lives, but in their communities. They just don't care. Like they're just convinced that the way things are is that the way things have to be. There's dozens of reasons that go into this disenfranchisement, but ultimately it's like um it's like consigning yourself to a fate of death to give up on the project of active investment into your own communities, actively building up your own communities, actively like working to figure out new solutions, abandoning old ideas that don't work anymore. My city actually still has horse and buggy services downtown. It's it's mostly a touristy thing. Yeah, I mean there are some downtown areas and some towns and cities throughout the United States that have, and throughout the world really, that have that kind of thing going for them. on some level. But you'll notice it's usually specific areas, and there's rules about what cars can go down and how they interact with the horses and all that. And like, there's a tremendous level of accommodation that we have to make just to allow that to be a thing for tourists. And for coal power, it's pretty much the same thing. We operate a way more intensive coal industry than we need to, because so much of our power grid is still dependent on it, even though it doesn't need to be. If they lose the coal job, there's no guarantee they will get another job. Renewables are better, but can you save those people? It's only fair to guarantee them jobs or training. These are families. I'm not saying we leave them behind in the dust. Yeah, I think you might sense disagreement in me that doesn't exist, friend. Here's what I'm saying. You're right. We do need to bring those people along. But part of the reason why it's so hard to bring them along is because they themselves are dead set against it. I think the problem we're running into is not a policy one. It's not a problem policy. The policy exists. We know it. It's out there. There have been tons of studies on this in countries that have gone through various types of economic development. Like, in my opinion, the matter of democracy here in America, when it comes to like convincing people in West Virginia that helping to install renewables and helping to rebuild their town's infrastructure would be a better job than mining coal, is a rhetorical problem. I think we've spent, as people on the left, I think we've spent so much of the last 20 years hyper focused on social issues because it seemed like we were making so much ground so quickly. And I think at some point we kind of lost the forest for the trees, because the dominant force behind all of this oppression, the common axis that runs through it all, is the oppression of the working class by the bourgeoisie, the oppression of poor, regular, middle class, whatever you want to call them, but regular families versus the people that own the businesses that they work in and the houses that they live in and the apartments that they live in and the politicians that they vote for. There's no good land for renewable energy in West Virginia? Sure there is. Sure there is. The ridge laws mean you can't build on most of the mountaintops, but you don't need to. You just need to build in places that will get sun coverage for most of the year, or get at least like partial sun coverage the entire year. And there are places like that in West Virginia. You know, a mountain has to have four faces, right? Not only that, but West Virginia, being so hilly, is a great candidate for like smaller scale hydro operations. There could be smaller scale hydro installed throughout the state of West Virginia that could supplement a solar grid. West Virginia doesn't have to run on coal. It runs on coal because there's been a fucking massive coal industry in that state ever since they discovered coal in that state. Runs on coal because that's the most cost efficient thing for it to run on. It doesn't have to be the most cost efficient thing for it to fucking run on. West Virginia is one of the lowest rated states for sun coverage of 48th, but they've got abundant water resources. They've got lots of little creeks, they've got lots of springs, lots of fucking rivers. There's lots of opportunities for small scale hydro in that state. And not only that, but I'm an advocate for like well researched, well developed, well planned nuclear. I don't want to just slap a fucking nuclear facility in every state in America, in every city in America, but I do think that looking into it would be a better idea than just shitting out coal fumes for the rest of our lives. I bet you never did a pull-up in your whole life? I'll admit, it's been a few years, but in my whole life, yes. So something that comes from Earth can destroy the Earth? Yeah. Ever heard of a nuclear bomb? What do you think, we make those out of fucking antimatter? You kidding me? Duh. What a silly question. I'm sorry. I probably sound like a bit of a douchebag there, but like, yeah. Unless we have some space mining operations that I don't know about, anything that would destroy the Earth would have to come from the Earth. This is genuinely amazing. Keep up the great work. Can't wait to see more. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. What did Riley do, Pink Fur? Yeah, what did Riley do? Hydro would have to be small with little output and probably can't cover the cost to build. Much of the waterways are already developed and environmentally protected, so it'll be more costly. Sure, but we're already spending way more than we need to pay for black lung treatments for people who work in and around coal plants and coal mines, paying for treatment for people who get sick from the pollution from coal plants. Like, do you have any idea, like, the fucking healthcare costs associated with powering a power grid off of coal? There are healthcare costs associated with that we would fucking automatically we would save on those healthcare costs if we weren't reliant on a method of generating power that created pollution. So, a combination of nuclear, small scale hydro, and solar, where appropriate, would, I believe, cover the entirety of this United States. And I think that all three of those methods, used in greater amounts where necessary for full coverage, would make up for any deficits that you would find. And, like, for example, you're not going to be able to power the entire state of Alaska on solar power because it only really has reliable sun like half the year. But you could build nuclear plants in Alaska. You could build limited hydro in certain parts of Alaska. And there's parts of it that use solar anyway that just don't get very high output during the twilight months. The answer certainly is taxing the shit out of the people with the money to give it to the poor, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't want those dirty poors getting anything, right? Would never want those dirty, stinky poors to have anything nice, right? What if the nuclear plants explode? I don't know, man. What if the coal plants continue polluting the fucking environment for the next 2,000 years because we never transition off of coal because we're terrified of the fucking ill effects? You know? Like, what if we poison everybody on this planet to the last human being with horrible fucking coal dust? What if we burn this fucking entire planet to a burnt little nubbin because we're more ready to burn up? And we're back. Alrighty. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. Back. We're 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 back. Whack. You people think it's so easy to fix the world's biggest problems. It literally is. It literally is. I don't even know why you're talking like that, though. I guarantee you, if I quizzed you about your political ideals, you don't even idealize the same things I so, like, why are you acting like you would even approve of the fixes that I would seek. The solutions I would seek are ones you would undoubtedly oppose. And so I have every reason to believe that you saying that is just an excuse to dismiss the solutions. Why do you want to change to green energy? Because there's only so much coal on the fucking planet. There's only so much oil on the fucking planet. Not only that, but it's a way better deal. It's way more efficient. You make a solar panel one time. You build a hydro plant one time. There's ongoing maintenance costs for those, but they don't compare in any way to the ongoing harvesting cost of things like oil, natural gas, coal, which you have to continuously harvest all the time to continue producing power. Whereas a fully renewable a fully renewable power grid could eventually get to a point where you're not really having to build anything to add on to it functionally. You're just occasionally upgrading capacity as you need to and mostly doing maintenance. It won't be for another 10 years or so after the last big project gets done that you need to engage in some more big projects because it'll take that long for the population to grow enough for you to justify, like, okay, hey, we need to upgrade our power supply even more than just increasing the capacity of currently operating plants would do. So we have to build a couple more mega projects. Okay, you approve those. Like, there are ways to solve these problems that would be way more efficient than using endless amounts of fossil fuels, which we don't have, by the way. We have a limited amount of them. Not only that, but climate change is a real problem that continues to make life hard for people all over the fucking planet, but it's starting to affect people in America in a more profound, distinct, and notable way every year. Someone said it is expensive to build renewable on Appalachians. I don't know if that's true or not. I wouldn't know, but I thought it was relevant to the discussions. Yeah, so it is difficult, like compared to like the Great Plains, to build renewables in the Appalachians. Number one, there's a lot of protected land all throughout mountainous regions because mountainous regions host a lot of biodiversity. They host a lot of there's a greater degree of, what's the word I'm looking for? Density. There's a greater density of life and living things in mountainous areas because there's way more surface area for plants to grow on. There's more rocks and cubbies for things to hide in. There's just more terrain for you to work with than if you're talking about something that's flat. So it's not uncommon at all for, and not only that, but you don't want necessarily to like ruin the sites of the ridge lines and things like that by building a bunch of gaudy shit on top of the mountains. So there's ridgeline laws. So there are like developmental difficulties to building renewables in various parts of Appalachia, but these are not unsurmountable issues. There's issues with all kinds of things and all kinds of different, like there's going to be issues no matter what we do. We currently are dealing with issues with coal. Thank you for the $1.99, Alex Meta. I appreciate it so much. Always happy to see people donating in here. Does capitalism die when we run out of oil? If we haven't transitioned off of both capitalism and oil by the time we run out of oil, then yes. Yes. I mean, modern society dies when we run out of oil if we don't transition off of it. That's another reason why I advocate for us creating a renewable fucking energy grid so that we're not reliant on this like limited resource that, like, we can build some synthetic alternatives, but none of them are really as good as the real thing. So we should really be trying to preserve every fucking bit of it that we can and not turning the lion's share of it into fuel to burn. Like, you realize you can reuse and recondition, re-refine and reissue motor oil. Like, lubricating oil can in theory be recovered and reused. Fuel cannot be. You can't like recover and reuse fuel. It's not possible. It's the whole point. Like, And if you could, it would not be energy efficient. Like there would be too many losses for it to be worth it. So like there's no it's it's a losing prospect. It's a losing game. Why are chairs and tables less expensive than groceries? It's not like that in other countries. Groceries aren't that expensive in other countries. There's lots of reasons behind this. But I genuinely believe that the biggest reason for it, I think that all the mechanisms by which it happens are merely machinations to make this the reality. I think the main reason why it's like that in America is because we're the most capitalist country on the planet, and because we have fully captured people's expectations when it comes to their life and what they consider success with propaganda, to the point where people typically don't associate their like success or their level of financial stability with the amount of groceries in their freezer or in their fridge, or even necessarily the amount of money in their bank account. It's the things that surround them. And that's, like I said, because we have been not entirely but mostly captured by propaganda, consumerist propaganda, that makes us associate our personalities and our livelihoods with the products that we own. And then in an environment like that, if you want people to remain feeling okay about their low status in life, if you want people to remain feeling okay with having less groceries than they used to, with the groceries they can buy being more expensive than they used to be, one great way to do that is to continuously make sure that the price of consumer goods remains, if not stable, then actually falling. It's getting cheaper. The value's getting, maybe the value's not increasing, but the price is definitely going down. It seems like you're getting more for less. And so people go out and buy these consumer products. It makes them feel better about their lives. Sure, the dinner that used to cost $20 now costs 50, and the dinner that used to cost $5 now costs 20. But they don't notice that as hard because they've got a really nice TV sitting in their living room. They have a really nice couch to watch it on. Look at that head. There's a male head. It's huge. Dude, the phrenology of transvestigators is crazy. We're getting a live demonstration of actual phrenology here, folks. What do you think it means to be successful? I think it means that you can give back to your community in proportion to the amount that any given community is given to the person who would be considered successful in that instance. I think it means being able to provide for yourself and your family as well as the people around you, to be able to contribute to the broader good in a direct and tangible way. That's what I define as successful. Big companies bully little companies. No competition is bad for farmers. We should be able to buy from farms instead of Walmart. You can, it's just harder. And it's made purposefully harder by that lobbying that you're talking about. It's another reason why groceries are more expensive here in the US than they are in Europe. In Europe, farmers markets are not just common, but they're like everywhere. They're common and they're fucking everywhere. And there's all kinds of people selling stuff out of their gardens. Not only that, but in Europe, the concept of a personal garden, a kitchen garden, or even just some land set aside in town that you're personally encouraged to grow shit on is way, way, way more common. Whereas the concept of a community garden in the United States is seen as this lefty liberal idea that if you even try to bring it up in a conservative community is just seen as like, what do you want to fucking trying to bring socialism to our world? you know so there is way more access to homegrown produce and like just healthier produce in general in a lot of parts of Europe, just as an example. I would also imagine that this is probably the case for a lot of parts of the world in general. I know that in Asia and India, it's pretty common to have a personal garden if you've got the land to have it on. I know that in both of those countries, like produce markets selling produce that was like directly gathered from farms on the outskirts of the cities and shit are pretty common. So it's just a matter of like the way we distribute food here is it's also all about privilege and prestige. It's not about making sure that people have enough to eat. It's not about making sure that there are products in the stores that people can go and get groceries. If that's all that it was about, you wouldn't need 25 different bread fucking brands in the grocery store. The reason why there are 25 fucking brands of bread here in the United States is so that they can upsell every single motherfucker that might possibly be willing to buy a special kind of bread. Everything in this country is set up to scam you out of money. Literally every aspect of America is set up to fuck you out of money. Farmers markets are not socialist or conservative. I doubt that is what she said. Yeah, what I said was that community gardens are often interpreted as a socialist idea in conservative communities in America, which is true. They're not inherently a socialist idea. You can have a community garden and still believe that people have a right to sell produce that they helped to produce on that community garden. Although, I mean, I guess it does lean socialist, right? Because, like, the idea of everybody pitching in to grow these plants, nobody's got specific sole ownership over it, so nobody should get specific sole profits from it. There's, like, considerations there that even within a capitalist environment, you would want to socialize some aspects of the running of it if you were going to be selling produce off of a communally tended plot. So, there's that, but the idea can operate in lots of different economic models. Any plans to get a job and move out of your mom's house? Oof! Man, that would really fucking hurt if I wasn't employed, self-employed, in fact, and living in a fucking situation that is perfectly fine with me. Man, sure would hurt if I was a bitter neat not doing shit with my life, but fortunately for me, I'm self-employed with an increasingly successful channel on YouTube. Gardens are not lefty. I've never heard that before. Also, fruit is more expensive in Asia. It may be. It may be. It's America's problem. Separating people is a business. It's one of the many businesses that's out here in the world. Yeah, pretty much. Like, there is wide incentive on both sides. Now, like, I try to run a platform here that is like attractive to people from all sides because like I try not to ban people just for disagreeing or having disagreeable opinions or whatever. I I'm very open about my biases and shit like that and encourage people that disagree with me to argue with me so I can make my points to them and hopefully convince them, plant some seeds, etc. But there are definitely some who have accused me of being a divisive figure. How much weed do you smoke a week? At this point, very little. Let me think here. I don't know how much this last re-up I just got was. I would say probably like half O. And I still got the vast majority of it left, and I got it over a week ago, so I don't know. If I had to guess, around a quarter a week. If there's something better than capitalism, I'll absolutely take it. I just don't know what it would be called or be like. I've been saying materialism is destroying the country just like you are. Well, materialism is destroying the country. No matter what you think about the system of capitalism that helped to implement like consumerism and materialism and make it so forward in our society. No matter what you think of that economic model, the the ill results of some of its worst excesses cannot be denied. What do you think about the Board of Peace? Dude, fucking Trump's slush fund that he's the chairman of the board for life of? Yeah. Um, I don't think much about it. I think that it's just another example of Trump illegally using his powers as the president to set something up by force because nobody's going to challenge him because I don't know. I guess the Democrats have decided to fucking just put their head snugly between their legs, crane their neck, and kiss their ass goodbye. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck the Democrats are doing. They said towards the beginning of Trump's administration that their big plan was to just run out the clock and let Trump fuck himself up, show the country what a bad leader he really is, and then they'll swoop to fucking power on some impulse of victory. But I think it's the dumbest fucking plan ever. You do not demonstrate to the American people that you have a better plan than Trump by sitting around idly doing jack shit in Washington, D.C. That is not how you show strength to the American people. And I have no fucking clue what makes it just shows you how cynical, depraved, and out of touch the Democratic Party really is in its modern incarnation because they have no fucking clue how little people trust them. They have no fucking clue how little people think that they're an answer. Like there are tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of progressives in America, and almost all of us think that the DNC is not the DNC in its current form under current leadership is not prepared to rebuke the rise of fascism. Damn it. God, I'll be glad when I'm not sick anymore. Fuck. I knew I should have taken more cold medicine before I went live. Oh. What do you think about poor middle class people paying property taxes? If you already own the house, it should be yours. Maybe fancy houses can be taxed. I kind of like, I don't know, property tax is a hard one, right? Because when I think about it, number one, it's hard for me to talk about on stream because it's like an incredibly boring thing to talk about and hash out the specifics of. But two, when I talk about property tax, I always get caught up in this notion that, like, intrinsically, I don't really believe in the concept of private property. Personal property is one thing. So I kind of agree with you that people shouldn't have to pay the government rent just for owning land in a specific country. But that really only works if you abolish private property, right? Because as long as you have factories that can be owned, not by a collective of the workers, but by an individual person, as long as you have the concept of private property, you're always going to have a distinction between residential properties and commercial properties, and you're always going to have a distinction within residential properties between like multifamily units, single family housing, shit like that. So like, how should these things be taxed differently? Should you only be taxed if your property's worth a certain amount? That's what I kind of lean towards, right? Is under, like, in a transitionary system, like a market socialist economy, where we're trying to move away from capitalism and towards something that works a little better, I think that we would have a property tax system that only kicks in and taxes a property if it's worth a certain amount. And the I think the answers I usually hear to this, the only one that I really don't have a strong refutation to, other than no, I don't think that's really all that likely, is the idea of like um, wealth drain from people like moving away because, oh, I don't want to pay these taxes or whatever. But I really don't think that that is. I think it's overblown. I think that there is like a lot more to just taxes that keep wealthy people in the places that they want to live. So, um, but with that being said, the question does remain, what do you do about the property tax thing? And I think that under a system, under a model where you still have private property, where you haven't completely decommodified housing and put the factories and farms in the hands of the workers, under a framework like that, I think property tax should only apply to commercial properties and to residential properties with a value of like 250,000 or more. Property taxes pay for infrastructure. Yeah, but the problem with property taxes, just like anything else, is that they are disproportionately taken off the backs of the poor and the working class. Something has to be done about that. There has to be a wealth tax in this country. And a property tax, like a progressive property tax that doesn't kick in until you've got a certain amount of value wrapped up in a property, would be one of the best ways to handle doing a wealth tax. Somebody can't afford to pay the wealth tax because they don't make nearly as much money as they used to. Well, sorry, bud. Maybe you should sell that super expensive castle you've got there and move to something that's a little bit more affordable. You can pay the property taxes on it, or move to something that is under the property tax cap, and voila, you don't have to pay the fucking property tax anymore. But for people who want to live in McMansions, sorry, you're going to have to pay a property tax. And there are always going to be people who want to live in a McMansion. And there will always be people who can't afford to live in their McMansion anymore. Like, unless you implement my socialist utopia, nobody gets to live in a McMansion for their whole life. You implement my socialist utopia, then you do. You just move there and then you don't move out. And then, other people will probably get sick of it. But if you don't, like, you can just live there your whole life. But, like, for the most part, people are going to get sick of the places that they're living within 5 to 10 years, and they'll move somewhere else, and people will flow around and it'll be beautiful. But if that doesn't happen, if you're not that kind of person, you can find yourself some little McMansion in the perfect socialist Phoebus utopia in the world in the future, and just have yourself a merry little Christmas. But in the meantime, we're going to have to tax the rich. And one of the best ways to do that is by taxing property above a certain value. I don't have any mint, but I grew a bunch of calendula. The tea was just an additional suggestion, Pink. Hope you enjoyed your mint tea. Nice, nice. Stop paying property taxes for 2 years in America. You really never own it's property of the state. Yeah, no, I know, but that's one of the reasons why I talk about this the way I do, is because I think that if the property is valued above a certain amount, then all right, sorry, you're going to have to pay the property tax. If you can't afford it, well, that's capitalism, baby. Adam Smith himself hated landlords and would not have set up capitalism to feature them. No, I don't have a college education. This is so complicated and bad, I might actually move. What is? What's making you think about moving? Boy, it's cold. It's been rather nice for February, but it's cold today. You read a lot? Yes, I do read a lot. A living trust will go a long way, but taxes can never be avoided, just like death. True. True, true. Hmm. Long ago, but not so very long ago, the world was different. Oh, yes, it was. Settled down and you built a town and made it there. And you watched it grow. It was your town. Time goes by and time brings changes. You change too. Nothing comes that you can't handle, so on you go. Never see it coming. The world caves in on you. On your town. Nothing you can do. Main Street isn't Main Street anymore. That's a good song. Ah, fake and gay. Indeed. I apologize for yesterday for being rude. I'm neutral. Everyone has an opinion, but we are living. It's all right. I don't even remember you being rude. I've got, I've got cupboards with cans of food, bottled water, and pictures of you. And I'm not coming out until this is all over. And I'm looking through the glass where the light bends at the cracks. And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, pretending that the echoes belong to someone. Someone that I used to know. And will become silhouettes till the bodies finally go. Oh. Wanted to walk through the empty streets, feel something solid underneath my feet. But all the radio reports recommended that I stay indoors, because the air outside will make your cells divided at an alarming rate. And the boils that form underneath our skin will fill with pus until we explode. be a pretty sight. And we'll become silhouettes till our bodies finally go. And we'll become silhouettes till our bodies finally go. Oh, I guess those are just my pens rubbing against the body of the guitar. I was like, what the fuck is that weird ass sound? I don't subscribe to the trans cult / religion. Okay. So, transgender people and our experiences are like backed up and thoroughly researched by a super wide array of current modern scientific underpinning. So, like, where exactly does the religious element come in? Like, to whom do I pray? I don't need to be educated on that. No, it is not. I mean, you saying it's not doesn't make it, like, any less scientifically verified. You can say gravity's not real. That doesn't mean you're not going to fall fucking flat on your face if you trip over a log on your way to work or something, you know? Yours should just ban and say goodbye is high. Well, I'm trying to figure out, like, exactly where where Warner Langley or whatever. Well, I'm trying to figure out from whence their problem comes. Because, like, the science is on our side, history is on our side. So, like, you know, Warner's got the rare opportunity here to make his case in front of me. Normally, his arguments would be lost amongst a sea of transphobes. Warner strikes me as somebody who's smart in other areas of their life. Warner strikes me as somebody who might have, like, a brain sitting up there somewhere, who has allowed themselves to become swayed by some ideology into hating trans people. And it's likely because of some personal experience or some inequity within their own lives. I just want to get to the root of it if I can. They deny science and history but call cars she and her. Yeah, I know. There's multiple layers of deep hypocrisy that go into the, like, gender critical mindset, you know? Period. I don't know, whatever you tried to send before got caught up by the fucking filter, Warner. You answered your own question. It's one thing to express, and then there's reality. That's life. Live, but don't spread. Live, but don't spread. Okay, so how the fuck would you suggest that we don't spread? Because once again, there's a wide body of scientific understanding that underpins the scientific reality behind gender dysphoria and transgender people, like our experiences broadly. So the only reason trans people spread is because people are trans and continue to express that. And the only reason why understanding about it continues to spread is because science is done concerning those people and their experiences, and has been for like 100 years now. It's natural, that's why. What's natural? Trans people are every bit as natural as cisgender people are. Trans people have existed every bit as long as humanity has existed. As long as we've had gender distinctions for some people to feel misaligned with, there have been trans people. Anyway, Phoebe, get eye drops, please. I do need to get some, yeah. I need to get some medicated eye drops, probably. Oh, yeah. I've just been very sickly lately, and I'll be glad when I'm fucking over it. It's as simple as that. Huh? Warner, I don't know if you said anything before that comment, but it got cut by YouTube's filter or something because I'm not seeing it. I just see it's as simple as that right after a comment from Pink Fur. Is that tobacco? Yes, it is. How sad is that? Oh, dude, Punch is being accepted now. Punch is there are signs that Punch may be getting accepted into the troop. What blend? It's literally just shitty, like, bulk bag pipe tobacco. It's nothing special. Never wanted to be a princess, never asked anyone to braid my hair, never asked my mom to buy me things that I saw marketed towards girls, never wanted to wear a dress, and I was never obsessed with the color pink or sparkly things or unicorns or fucking fairy wings. Gender never really meant that much to me. To the people that I love told me I was supposed to be. Till the people that I love started to say, boys, don't dress that way. Boys, don't talk that way. Boys, don't dress that way. See, the problem I have with gender is that I'm not even sure whether I know what I mean when I say I'm a woman, because I know I am one. Because boys can wear dresses and makeup, anyone can wear whatever they want. Girls can have short hair and muscles, and that's where I run into trouble. Because if I use she pronouns, well, what does that mean? Am I reinforcing a gender binary that I don't believe in and I don't adhere to? Tell you I'm a woman, what's that supposed to tell you? Gender doesn't tell you a damn thing about me. Doesn't tell you what I like or how I speak. The people in your life don't love you if they say, boys don't talk that way. Girls don't talk that way. Boys don't dress that way. And I think it's high time that our culture moved past this fucked up notion of the way that we act. It's determined at birth or that we have to choose. It's an imposed binary. Either way we lose. So do what you want and dress how you feel. Don't let anyone tell you that gender is real. I think it's time that we put it in its place. So come on, let's throw gender to an early grave. The people in your life don't love you if they say, boys don't talk that way. Girls don't talk that way. Boys don't dress that way. Boys don't dress that way. Girls don't dress that way. Girls don't talk that way. Thank you, Pink Fur, for the 99 cents. What a kind donation. I appreciate it. Oh my god, Pink Fur. I can't believe I've never played Gender is Boring for you guys before. This is Def on the Phoebe rotation. Yeah, it is. It is. It just doesn't come out all the time because I don't always feel like I've got a receptive audience for it, but I feel like Warner's going to stick around no matter what bullshit I do, and I figure, might as well make him listen to a song that'll probably get him to like at least think a little more critically about the experience of gender for transgender people. Probably not, but that's the idea. What? Why Pink Fur get timed out? Gender is boring. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Why? Why did Pink Fur get timed out? Whoa. What has happened? Why? Why? Why, Kitty? Why? I'm gonna have to mod Pink Fur or something. Gender is boring. Thank you for the $4.99. I appreciate it so much. Okay, if it was just the wrong person kind of thing, I get that. That happens. Larkin and Jensen were activists, heads loaded with theory, their hearts are filled with passion, share the same left-wing politics. Like the same music, they were part of the protest movement. Well, Anna fancied herself a feminist, studied the way they talked and dressed, fancied herself an anarchist. Eric fell in love with Anna at a meeting on a crafting conference, didn't know it, but Anna was an FBI informant. Eric fell in love with an FBI informant. shared his dreams of revolution. Now he's sitting in solitary confinement. Be careful what you think, be careful what you say, might be used against you in court one day. Well, Lana thinks she's a whore, she's just a fucking snitch. Black Suburbans and AR-15 rifles. Agents made the arrest in a Kmart parking lot, caught with the supplies for the bombs in hand. They were charged with conspiracy against the government. Well, Anna had the car, and I paid the rent, and I helped find the recipe to make the explosives. She encouraged her friends to follow through on the plans. Didn't know it, but Anna was an FBI informant. Eric fell in love with an FBI informant. Shared his dreams with revolution. Now he's sitting in solitary confinement. Be careful what you think, be careful what you say, might be used against you in court one day. Well, Anna thinks she's a whore, she's just a fucking snitch. I said, well, Anna thinks she's a whore, she's just a fucking snitch. If born with weeby and not pee-pee, then not specific social construct. Checkmate libdar. I know, right? Favorite song though, for real though? Yeah, no, 100%. How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? How many seas must the white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? And how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Do you guys know what that song's about? Think about it. I want you guys to think about it, right? How many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. What blows in the wind? It's an anti-war jingle? Right, it is. It is. It 100% is, yes. It's an anti-war jingle, specifically one that's critical of America's warmongering. It, in my opinion, pretty specifically calls out nationalism, although I guess it doesn't specify that it's America's warmongering, but it's obvious what country's warmongering inspired it. if you know when it was written. So um, it is worth noting, though, that it pretty much applies to any warmongering that's being done for nationalistic reasons, for purely nationalistic reasons. You know, how many times will the cannonballs fly until they're forever banned? The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer is the flag. They'll continue until there's no longer a nationalist casus belli by which to justify war every 5 years. I agree with you that we have turned into warmongers. Well, I was making the case earlier that you're probably pretty smart on things that aren't related to the trans issue, that you're just a Luddite on for whatever reason. Because I've heard you agree with me a number of times tonight, not just on us being a warlike country. Hmm. Come on, you people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown. Accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, well, you better swim fast or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are changing. That's a good song, too. My voice sounds like shit, though. I've been sick for fucking 2 weeks. It's taking its toll. I'm just glad you see the current iteration of the Democrat Party for what it is. Yeah, well, you'd have to be pretty stupid or narrativized to not. Although I find myself in the unfortunate position of being agreed with a lot by people who normally wouldn't agree with me simply because I'm being critical of the Democratic Party. It is my sincerest hope to distinguish myself from people who are merely critics of it in a vacuum as if it's like inherently evil, right? I don't think the Democratic Party has to be a useless party of warmongers who are beholden to the same corporate interests the Republicans are. I don't think they have to be that, you know? But that's definitely what they are right now under current leadership. It's the Republican Party, that's what the Democratic Party is, and they are Israel. Yeah, pretty much, literally. They are the axis of evil in our world. No, but seriously, like the Republicans and the Democrats working together to fuck over the American working class is why nothing works in this country as well as it's supposed to, why everything's decaying, and why we like think about the fact that like fundamentally jack shit really has not changed about the American political atmosphere in the last 20 years except occasional bouts of national unrest. Like that doesn't count. That's not, if you've got national unrest, but then nothing happens, that's not useful. That's not good. And that's the whole reason I like Trump. I don't know, man. It's one thing for me to like, be critical of the Democratic Party, and another thing to like Trump. Although I do think that Trump and his tactics are going to force the Democratic Party into either being subsumed by the Republicans because they refuse to like allow themselves to be more progressive, or it'll make them more progressive. One second. See, I think the Dems are probably, hopefully, realizing that they can't run on just being Trump but nice. Because the people that want Trump don't like Trump because he's nice, and the people that don't want Trump don't want a nice Trump or a mean Trump. They don't want any Trump. They want progress. They want some leftist ideas to be tried. Fuck it. Like, we've tried every other goddamn thing. Do some leftism for once. Gotta sleep now. Thanks for the music, Phoebe. I'll catch you later. Good nighties. Good night, Pink Fur. Um, Whatever brings us to revolutionary change now, I'm about it. It's too far gone in all dimensions and directions to reform. The recent news is just the start of this info. Did y'all see the bandaged Mitch McConnell thing? No. But it's not surprising to me that Mitch McConnell's having to be brought into the halls of power bandaged up because he can't stop falling and hitting himself, and he's falling apart. Old man should be in a home, not the House, not or the Senate. Sorry, I think he's a senator. He shouldn't be in the Senate. He needs to be in the home. Well, politicalcs is like religion. It separates. All that really happens is, well, let's just say it does not benefit the working class. Well, I think a lot of what I think what you're talking about really is electoralism. Electoralism, uh, you know, uncritical electoralism, let's call it, I think has that effect. Uncritical electoralism, because that's what's been fostered in America. Not necessarily like political calculus or anything like that. People have become incredibly partisan to the point where people usually just look at politics as like a team sport. They're hoping their team wins. They're hoping the other team gets knocked the fuck out. And like discussions of policy and things like that become almost irrelevant because it's not really about that. It's about making sure the other guy loses. Your vote doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't matter as much as it should, that's for sure. But you can affect change with a vote, depending on, especially like the closer you get to your local government, the more your vote does. I don't mean like befriend your mayor and your vote is twice as powerful. I just mean that like the closer, although I guess that might be true in some sense, depending on the city and the corruption and all that. But what I'm saying is that like you can vote on local initiatives, and the democracy is usually listened to in those instances. Usually, not always. Sometimes state politicians decide they know better than the voters. Give me that quick response again to my comment about the Democrat Party. I don't remember what it was. You'll have to reverse back through the stream. I don't remember specifically what I said. It would be a disingenuous reaction if I tried to just make the same reaction happen twice. The well-being of the people are just game chips? Yeah, pretty much. It's like the well-being of the people is a thing that you can tease the people with. It's not necessarily a goal that's actually pursued. Nah, like I said, These streams always go up publicly available afterwards, so you can always reverse back through it if you're trying to get a good clip out of me or something. You want the first go around anyway. Trust me. I don't know. It was probably something to the tune of fuck. I can't remember. I can remember all of my criticisms about the party, but I can't remember how I specifically worded them to you 5 minutes ago. Um, Weak, feckless, do nothings. Um, I think they could be better. I think they could be an instrument for change. But right now, they are beholden to the exact same billionaires and moneyed interests that the Republicans are, and there's no meaningful distinction between them. And I think that now they are at. I think that Trump and the like Nazification of the Republican Party is kind of forcing the Democrats into this position where they can either be the leftist party or they can get subsumed into the Republicans and become the moderate wing of the Republican Party because like their voter base is not interested in their policies because their policies are just like Republican policies from 10 years ago. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that besides Republicans who are not going to vote for Democrats unless they start running as Republicans, which they probably will as the Democratic Party becomes dissolved because it is slowly subsumed by um, internal rot, basically. Did you know that for every 14 cents an average full-time Walmart employee makes, their CEO makes $1? Yeah, that sounds about right. And honestly, that's one of the less stark examples you can find of that, Kenny. Just being real with you. Like, if you look at the difference between what Jeff Bezos made, I don't know if he's still CEO of Amazon, but I'm pretty sure he is. But if you look at what he makes versus like what the average Amazon employee makes, it's an even more stark comparison. I think it's like 9 cents on the dollar or something like that. Why do you think they're Nazis? Well, because they're allowing their party to become subsumed by Nazis. Well, because white, like Nick Fuentes is an avowed white nationalist, an avowed Nazi sympathizer, Holocaust denier, etc. And Vice President of the United States, who is a member of the Republican Party, is retweeting him, signal boosting his little social media messages. You've got that Young Republicans group chat that came out where there's like all kinds of people making Nazi jokes in there and talking about all the fascist shit that they want to do. One of them even openly saying, "I've got a little bit of a Nazi streak to me." You know, yeah, I don't know. Seems like if you've got an entire party full of people justifying the door-to-door ICE tactics that ICE has been employing in blue cities, you might have a bit of a Nazi problem in your party because the Republican Party of 40 years ago would have balked at the idea of a force of masked federal agents going door to door, knocking on random people's doors, checking to see if they might have any brown people for them to lock up inside. Those are dumbasses? No, I mean, like, it is what it is, man. The Republican Party is allowing a bunch of dumbasses to take over their media apparatus then. The Department of Homeland Security is literally, like, reposting Nazi memes and shit. They're using, imagery that is incredibly similar to fascist imagery in a lot of their advertising and shit, and a lot of their, like, social media posts. I don't know, seems pretty cut and dry to me. Why do I call them Nazis? Well, I don't call them all Nazis, but I do say that the Republican Party is being slowly Nazified from within by people that want to turn it from a like right wing party to a far right party. And I think it's pretty much already been turned into a far right party. There are people in there though that want to turn it into a actual Nazi party. There are lots of people on the right that don't think Trump has gone nearly far enough, despite the fact that, like I said, ICE has been going door to door in blue cities looking for random fucking brown and black people to lock up for questionable immigration status reasons. Regardless of the reason it's being undertaken, that's a Nazi tactic. To defend it is, in my opinion, to reveal a willingness to work with fascism and fascist tactics. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. How many feathers do you let it drop before you call it a duck? And I'm not one of these people who's always called the Republicans Nazis, by the way. For like most of my life as someone who talked politics, I was one of those people who's like, nah, your average Republican is not a fucking Nazi. And even to this day, I would say your average Trump voter is probably not a Nazi. But I have to talk about it in a more nuanced way now because the Republican Party. Is the sound back? Alrighty. Okay. Alrighty. Oh. Oh. I don't know how much longer I'll stay on here, honestly. Getting pretty cold. I can't wait for my root canal to be done. I hate having to chew on one side of my mouth. Ugh. That's awful. I'm so sorry, friend. No, the root canal will make the pain go away. Well, yeah, true. True. 'Tis better to have a root canal than to deal with tooth decay. In the future, we won't need teeth because we'll have really trendy tubes to deliver our essential nutrient goop directly to our physical units. Elon told me it was, so I don't know. Sounds legit. Yeah, dude. Everybody get your serving of goop. The future is going to be wild. Nah, I don't know, man. I think that there is like a type of futurism that appeals to me and that makes sense, but more and more I'm beginning to see a lot of futurism as like, I don't know, man. People trying to figure out ways to make capitalism outlast its usefulness. But whatever, man. Not like anything I say is going to make a difference. All the spices and flavors are part of healthy food. I hate people who claim healthy food is not tasty. Me too. I agree. Oh, man, it's fucking cold. And the future is just the past, but with fancy thinking machines that rule us. Yeah, man, I don't know why, but that just doesn't sound appealing. I don't know what it is. Then again, look at how shittily the human world is running with us fucking behind it. All of our vaunted thinking ability has led to this. Maybe it's not worth all that much after all. Only children and McDonald's addicts think healthy food always tastes bad. Yeah, and there are some fitness nuts that become kind of obsessive about it and they'll act like you have to eat, but that's just to excuse their own laziness when it comes to making food that's flavorful and healthy. Or to excuse whatever fad diet they're on. That's the problem with reality. You have to live it to understand it. Most people haven't really lived / struggled. They just victimize. Uh, most people? I don't know. Like, what do you mean when you say they haven't really lived or struggled? I feel like lots of people have lived and struggled in various ways and to various degrees in our current society. Some ASD folks too. Yeah, I'm sure there are some ASD people that are like that. But I will tell you, as an autism spectrum patient myself, I fucking love flavorful food. If you couldn't tell. Well, I'm getting kind of hungry. I do have some chicken that I made the other day. Could always grab some of that. Wild how Britain fought entire wars over spices and now their food is all bland goop. I know, dude. It's fucking weird. It's because they wanted to trade with the spices. They were not necessarily interested in using them themselves. But I also feel like British food kind of gets a bad rap if you think about it, because like there are British foods that take advantage of all the fucking wonderful spices that Britain has conquered, found, or discovered along the way. But most of the famous British food doesn't use it at all. like the shit people think about when they think British food, unless they think of butter chicken, which was technically invented in Britain. Technically, butter chicken is a fucking British dish. People will cite it as an Indian dish. It was not invented in India. It's based on Indian cooking techniques in some ways, I guess, but it's not an Indian dish. The UK could be the Japan of Europe in terms of food culture, but no, they are absolutely garbage. I feel like there's wide variation in British food. I feel like the shit that gets famous, but then again, dude, then again, I will see British people eating American foods, and their reactions make me feel like they must be eating like the Germans are still flying overhead or something. Like, if I didn't know any better, I would tell you that the Brits are still on rationing and shit because, like, whenever you present them with an American portion or an American barbecue sandwich or something like that, they're like, oh my god, this is more meat than I've ever seen in my life. How do you get all this on a sandwich? How do you get this much sauce on there? You better not pout, you better not cry. Gonna go home and eat chicken and rice. Riley Claus is coming to town. Gather round. They choose to eat slop like how Americans choose to eat shitty ass Pop Tarts and shit. Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, sometimes that Pop Tart is what you need to satisfy your craving. They have good food culture. They just don't give a fuck about it, and that baffles me. Yeah, that is weird. There's a reason why Gordon Ramsay learned his craft in France and not back at home. Perhaps the best diss against British cooking is the fact that Gordon Ramsay, the most famous British chef ever, was not trained in Great Britain. Gordon Ramsay is in the files? What? No way. Is he really? What? It just seems like with his fucking like production schedule, like he wouldn't have no time for it, but fuck. Kill your heroes, I guess. Shame. Oh, you better not pout, you better not cry, you better not shout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Leave you when you're sleeping. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. It's been real. It's been fun. And it's been real fun. What's up, Ignar? I'm sorry. I'm about to leave. It will cite references to the file numbers. What's up? There's an Epstein file AI chat? Is there now? Interesting. That is interesting. I just don't know what to do with that information. We've all pretty much known for fucking months now that this shit was gonna come out. We've all known for years now that every powerful person of any real note or repute in the last 20 years was connected in some way to these fucking piles. My question is, when are we going to do something about it, you know? Because something needs to be done about it. Not just a replacement of all these cultural figures, but these political figures too. I got to go to bed, but I subscribed. I like your objectivity. See, I won over another one. No, but thank you. I'll be going to bed here in a minute myself. Yeah, something needs to be done. Something has to be done. Will something be done? I don't know, man. I don't know, dog. Something needs to be done for sure. And I do feel that something is going to happen. I just don't know what it's going to look like yet. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. And I've been waiting on this moment for all my life. I don't agree with you, but I respect your opinion, and that's what people need to realize. Stay in your lane. Don't stress what doesn't break bread. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll agree with me with time. After all, the objectively correct nature of all my positions will win out, and the long curve of history bends towards righteousness. No, I don't know. I'm just out here planting seeds, you know? But yeah, I'm gonna get off here in a minute. It's cold. It's been raining off and on all day, all week, really. We need it though. We need our watersheds restored for sure. Ugh, man. I got playing season over the fertilize them, right? Huh? Got playing season all over the fertilize them, right? What? Incomprehensible. You got to plant the seeds in order to fertilize them, right? Yeah, for sure. You do. Why plant seeds when nature is natural? Because domestication is what enabled the expansion of humanity from a few hundred little scattered tribes to the civilization we have today. Unless you're an Anprim. And I do have a lot of respect for the pragmatic truth that an Anprim world is probably the one we're heading towards. I just don't necessarily think it's going to be in my lifetime. Well, anyway, goodbye, guys. I will see you guys around.